You know, whenever we talk about Nervalette judging the gods and how a fight would transpire between them, one point often gets brought up in regards to Zhongli, which is he has his own little personal army known as the Adepti, and I'm going to be honest with you guys can do a much better job at illustrating this point, because the way it comes across is Nervalette fights Zhongli, and all the Adepti just come running in last minute like, no! Stop him! And that's not fair. That's not fair to them, that's not fair to us. What it should sound like is Nervalette pulls up on Zhongli and all the Adepti are just sat there waiting. Like, I just wish you would, nigga. Bust a move. Bust a move, lizard. we don't believe I'm one of the ones, my nigga. You fighting one of us, you getting gangbang. Anyway, seeing as Cloud Retainer, I should say Xinyuan, has been drip marketed, now feels like as good a time as any to talk about the merry little band of super soldiers hidden throughout Liyue known as the Adeptus. Cloud Retainer's drip market is especially noteworthy, however, due to the fact that it sounds like she moved into the city and lives there, which is weird when you consider the fact that she's going to be our second full-blooded playable Adepti behind Xiao, who chooses to isolate himself because adeptal energy is dangerous to humans. So how did Cloud Retainer find a workaround? I mean, Zhongli's a god. Actually, how did Madame Ping find a workaround? Look, I'm telling you, this stuff is dangerous, man. You don't believe me? Look at Chi-Chi. Chi-Chi got blasted with the adeptal energy. Now look at Chi-Chi now. She's zombie Chi-Chi. Do you want more zombie Chi-Chis? Because this is how you get more zombie Chi-Chis, man. Anyway, the Adepti are an interesting bunch. No one really knows where they come from, aside from the fact that they're mostly made up of illuminated beasts. Illuminated beasts are creatures who can wield elemental power without a vision and tend to live long lives. Their natural form is that of some animal. For example, we've seen Cloud Retainer as an ostrich, a Mooncarver as a moose, and either Ganyu or her mother as like a really big spooky goat. It feels like 99% of Adepti are illuminated beasts. So aside from the three named earlier, other illuminated beasts are Skybracer, Ganyu, Yanfei, and all the Yakshas. I mean, as far as I could tell, I haven't seen anything that indicates to me Rex Lapis was also an illuminated beast, so I'm throwing him in the 1% of Adepti that aren't illuminated beasts. Despite being called the prime of the Adeptus, however, Rex Lapis is simply an Adeptus, as told to us by, well, himself.
Rex Lapis may be the prime of Adepti, but he is ultimately an Adeptus. Many Adepti have left us over the millennia. This is the inexorable trend.
Rex Lapis, however, does have obligations that go beyond that of the other Adeptus, as he is the one who bestows onto all the Adepti blessings in the form of adeptal arts, such as creating abodes like our teapot and gifting dreams, which he seemed to only ever use once to tell the Liyue Qixing that he wasn't dead but rather retired.
The reason why the Qixing were so eager to resolve the incident and stop pursuing the culprit was indeed because they received news in secret that Rex Lapis was not dead. I hinted as much to the Adepti as well. How did I accomplish that, you ask? Have you ever heard of this particularly convenient Adepti art known as gifting dreams and visions?
As such, it's reasonable to believe he was either the creator of the Adepti or the first one. To the question of who can be called an Adeptus, it's simply anyone who isn't a human. However, half humans like Ganyu and Yanfei are considered Adepti. Adepti are said to have a third eye that lets them use elemental energy without a vision. However, they choose to wear one regardless for one of two reasons. One is presumably not to stand out, which makes sense in the case of someone like Cloud Retainer who's undercover, but absolutely none for someone like Xiao. And the second reason is due to something interesting written in Ganyu's story about visions, which states, quote, 3,000 years ago, Ganyu answered the call of Morax, the god of Geo, aiding him in the Archon Wars. And when the war was over, she chose to stay in Liyue and help the humans build a better polity there. The first Liyue Qixing would need support, and she took this task up as a matter of course, becoming their secretary. The moment she made that decision, a vision appeared at her hip, granting her the power to resonate into the world to a degree beyond her natural abilities. Whether she would grow strong to no longer need it, or whether she would use it as a last resort in Liyue's defense, regardless, she chose to serve as the bridge between Adepti and humans. Her vision then was proof and witness of her new duty. So in Ganyu's case, she wears it to bridge the gap between the human and Adeptus world, but also because her vision somehow enhances her elemental ability. It's not known if this is unique to the half-breeds, as Yanfei's story doesn't even really say much about visions. I swear I don't even think the word visions was brought up once. She's just yapping. And Xiao's gives no insight onto the matter either, so we'll have to wait for Cloud Retainer's story on visions. And speaking of story, let's talk about the Adepti's his story. Anyone? No? Okay. Like I mentioned earlier, no one knows where the Adepti came from nor how long they've been around for, but given Zhongli is about 6,000 years old, I'll go with that. Prior to the Archon War, Zhongli and the Adepti, most notably Streetward Rambler or Madame Ping and Cloud Retainer, were good friends with the god of dust Guizhong. Both Zhongli and Guizhong ruled over Guili Plains together, and one day, whilst Cloud Retainer and Guizhong were arguing over whose mechanisms were better, Zhongli would choose Guizhong's ballista over whatever the hell Cloud Retainer's thing was. With the help of the Adepti, Guizhong would craft the ballistas, which would then help to ensure the safety of Guili Plains. After beefing with Cloud Retainer, Guizhong would then argue with another Adepti, Streetward Rambler, about some music shit, I don't know. Cloud Retainer would then snitch to Rex Lapis. Listen and look at how proud she is.
They argued endlessly, until one asked Rex Lapis to intercede. He confiscated the bell and designated it for ceremonial use.
One then asked Rex Lapis, "You snitched, bitch, don't do that." Streetward Rambler and Guizhong would then go on to be friends. Soon after, the Archon War would start, and despite the Adepti fighting to save Guili Plains, Guili Assembly would fall and Guizhong would die, which caused Rex Lapis to move the survivors to south of Mount Tianheng, where he would soon establish Liyue Harbor. After seeing the bang-up job the Adepti did at Guili Plains, Rex Lapis decided they were the ones for the job to protect Liyue, and soon entered a contract with them to do just that. Many of the Adeptus, such as Cloud Retainer and Ganyu, helped in the Archon War, but none more so than the 5 Yakshas, who were asked to deal with the fallout of the Archon War. Following the Archon War, many dead gods and demons' remains cursed the land, so to counteract this, Rex Lapis called upon the 5 strongest Yakshas to fight these curses. Their names were, I'm not gonna pronounce these right, Bosatius, Alatus, Indarius, Bonanus, and Mengoises. Despite being strong, the darkness they were fighting against proved too much, and as a result, most of them went mad and wound up killing one another. Today, only Xiao remains. With the end of the Archon War, most full-blooded Adepti decided to live in Xianyun karst, with some half-breeds like Ganyu opting to live the dream by taking up a position in government. Whenever an Adeptus dies, like in the case of Rex Lapis, a ceremony known as the Rite of Parting is to be held because China. This pretty much caps off all we know about the Adepti in lore, which is weird because, or well, this is more of a Zhongli thing, but there's like a 3,000 year just missing gap of lore, considering Guili Plains was like only 3,000 years ago. Like, what was Zhongli doing for 3,000 years before that? It's just missing history at this point, which I'm sure we'll learn more about, eventually. Maybe Cloud Retainer will tell us something. Speaking of Cloud Retainer, like I mentioned earlier, she's keeping her identity a secret as noted by Ganyu and Madame Ping, but again, how this is done while keeping the humans safe is not known. In any case, she should presumably be the same person as she was in ostrich form.
It seems Ganyu still has much to learn when it comes to the art of deception.
What a pity. She has learned nothing of one's ability to carry a conversation.
Bruh. As her character bio did mention that she loves working on inventions. So that pretty much caps off all the Adepti and Cloud Retainer lore that's important. I mean, here's to hoping we get some information on the lost 3,000 year history in her character story, but it's miHoYo, so we'll see.